Hello and welcome back to Cinematic Venom. I'm Spider-Man.
Me too.
My first two motion pictures were quite well received. I mean, they were awesome, and despite some bad moments by Tobey Maguire and awful writing with that whore Mary Jane who I completely disown, they still hold up. The third film was universally slammed, and rightfully so. I'd just like to publicly apologise. I was going through a really dark time when I made that piece of shit.
I'm sorry.
A fourth was planned but quickly canned after the failure of the third, and not long after we got a reboot. This was also really well received, starring Andrew Garfield and my beloved Emma Stone. But then we got the sequel, which is pretty much slammed by so many people. The main consensus was that the plot was unfocused and it had far too many characters, but people felt the characters weren't developed enough and the script was just too long and overcrowded. The film flopped so much, a third and fourth film were actually planned for 2016 and 2018 respectively, leading into the MCU saga, including a spin-off for Sinister Six and Venom, and another based on Spider-Man 2099. In 2014, Andrew Garfield and director Mark Webb showed interest in returning for a third, unsure of the fourth, but the movie flopped at the box office. The idea was still up in the air, even with Chris Cooper returning as Norman Osborn, focusing on Peter's recovery from the events at the end of this film. We'll get to that.
Why?
Not long after, Sam Raimi was in talks to return to direct a new trilogy, but Marvel were unhappy with the Sony arrangements, and in February of 2015, it was officially announced that the character would be rebooted again in Captain America Civil War, and The Amazing Spider-Man 3 was finally canned. So we open with Mission Impossible 6 by the looks of it. So these are my parents. They're trying to upload something on a plane before an attack, and thanks to the world's most powerful Wi-Fi, he still somehow manages to finish the upload with half the plane soaring off to Malaysia. Although this is kinda dumb, there's a nice subtle touch where my dad looks over at my mum, realising that she's already dead, and then shoots the window to end it all. We cut to New York City, where I'll swing around saving a guy called Max, played by Jamie Foxx, from a truck.
I'm a nobody.
Hey, you're not a nobody. You're somebody.
I get a call from Gwen. By the way, why is Peter's ringtone the Spider-Man theme? Isn't that just a bit of a giveaway? I get a call from Gwen during a graduation while I'm busy fighting crime, and I'd just like to take the time to honour this truly tremendous pun.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm running a bit late. I got stuck in some traffic.
But, like our brief 4 years in high school, what makes life valuable is that it doesn't last forever. What makes it precious is that it ends.
She's talking about these movies! So I finally show up and we get a really lazily thrown in Stan Lee cameo.
I think I know that guy.
Seriously, that was the best one that they could come up with. So throughout the entire film I have this vision of Gwen's dad. He passed away at the end of the first movie after making me promise to leave Gwen and not involve her in my duties. But come on man, you've seen her ass, I ain't letting that go.
How's that working out for you?
So I meet up with Gwen and we kind of mutually break up. You know, for all of the crap that this movie gets, I do find this scene so relatable. I mean, I've heard people slate the fact that these two break up and make up and break up and it's not realistic, but I can't help but feel like these people have never truly been in love or been in a proper relationship, because this is actually incredibly realistic. I just love how conflicted Peter's character is here. I mean, we've all seen Batman and Superman go through these kind of things, but not really Spider-Man. First of all, the character leads a double life. That's always been evident, but I love that Spider-Man swings around, always saving people, looking out for others, always happy, but behind closed doors he has his own issues and very few people are there for him. It's a universal metaphor that anybody can relate to. He gets depressed, he breaks down, and I find it really relatable and human. What I like is the confliction of his character. Should he keep his word to her father and do what's right, or should he follow his heart? He loves this woman to the stars and back, but is that enough to possibly put her in danger? It's a constant conflict of emotions and I really dig that. But I wouldn't know because I'm not Peter. The acting here is tremendous and I just can't compliment Gwen's character enough.
You're Spider-Man. And I love that. But I love Peter Parker more.
She loves him for him and not the superhero, but unlike Mary Jane, she actually helps him. She contributes to his efforts, she supports him emotionally. She's a truly strong and intelligent female character. She is so well written and I don't think this character gets enough credit. I mean, they break up and she's furious at him, but Gwen still doesn't tell anyone who he really is. This is actually one of my favourite female characters in movie history.
You lied to me.
So we cut back to Max, who's an avid Spider-Man fan. He's basically Jim Carrey's Riddler, but instead of being obsessed with the secret identity, he's obsessed with a superhero. There's not much difference. During this, we cut back to Aunt May, who's also working extra shifts, inserting yet another subplot into the mix. The thing is though, this one works.
Rosebud works.
This is one that people found pointless or unnecessary, but as I'll explain later, Peter's parents dumped him and he's hell-bent on finding them. This pointless subplot is to show just how much May cares for him, how she's struggling after Ben's death to support him on her own. It's building on a relationship with Peter, and the scenes themselves never even outstay their welcome. They're always short, and there's only like 3 of them anyway, so I don't see them as an issue, and in my mind, it showed their closeness more.
Those tower grids were designed by me.
You designed them? Sure you did. And I'm Spider-Man.
You're no Spider-Man. He's a Leo. You're a Sagittarius. You will smash him again. I'm gonna rip your well-groomed head off.
Okay, that was stupid. And unfunny. So Max bumps into Gwen, and it turns out that it's his birthday. He makes up a lie about having such a huge party, but the truth is, everybody in the world ignores him. I can relate. I mean, no I can't, because I'm Spider-Man. There's also an incredibly subtle moment here that I absolutely love.
You know, Spider-Man saved my life one time. Out of all the people in the whole city, he saved me. He said he needed me.
That must be a good feeling.
This dialogue is awesome.
It was nice to meet you, Max.
Wait, she remembered my name.
And that was hilarious. So we then get to Harry Osborn. Jesus Christ, I'm starting to see why people think it has too many goddamn subplots. He visits his dying father, who apparently neglected him all of his life, before cutting back to me. I sent an email to J.K. Simmons, but I guess it's not exactly his tempo, since he immediately responds in 2 seconds flat before I discover the news about Harry's father. The thing is, as many as there are, I like some of these subplots, but with Harry, I feel like you could have just cut out his first few scenes altogether.
Excuse me.
I mean, when you watch this and Harry's first few scenes show up, you're like, what the hell is this? And they don't even add to anything, they're completely pointless. If you just follow Peter's point of view, have Harry never show up or even be acknowledged, and then he finds out about his father and goes to meet him about it, it would make for a much more interesting reunion and discovery. It would also make the narrative just a lot less confusing. Anyway, Gwen gets a phone call from Oxford University. Jesus Christ, any more subplots you want to ram into our heads?
There's a current flow problem in the genomics lab. Why don't you stay and take a look at that?
But it's my birthday. Everybody else is leaving. Why do I have to stay?
Because you're special.
Smythe. Mr. Smythe.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, people don't act like this. I do have a defense for Max's character later, but this is just so ridiculous, so over the top, and so cartoony, it's absurd. So he tries to fix some electric wiring before falling to his death with some electric eels. We cut back to Harry talking to some executives of his company in another scene that should be cut, and then he finally reunites with Peter. See, cut all of that early shit out and it would have been a lot more emotional and saved us a whole lot of time.
Shut up!
This scene is actually awesome. The acting is great. Dane DeHaan is amazing. They insult each other in some really nice banter. It's so charming. And Peter expresses his relatability after losing his own parents. This is one of the best scenes of the entire movie.
You got a lady? That's a question. That's a question.
And the relatability continues. When I first watched the film, I was actually going through a really bad breakup at the time, and this scene hits so close to home. After you've had your heart broken, you just can't move on. You don't want to. In your own mind, you are still exclusive to that one person, though not official. This scene is so true and so perfectly executed.
Things have gotten crazy around here, man. Giant lizards and spider guys. Just one guy. Just one Spider-Man. Or woman. We don't know.
Yes we do. Everyone's heard me speak. Stupid. But other than that, perfect scene. But Max somehow isn't dead and instead awakens as Electrify Man.
That's not how the Force works.
And somehow escapes because nobody in this morgue is on duty apparently. We then get the greatest scene of the entire film. Peter and Gwen meet back up and try to be friends, and seriously, this scene is adorable. Everything said is so cute, so charming, so human, and the chemistry between the real life couple was off the charts.
if we're gonna be friends, I think we gotta establish some ground rules.
Some ground rules?
Yeah, some ground rules. Like that.
Like what?
That laugh. That's off the table.
My laugh
That
is
laugh
off the
is
table?
off the table. You gotta figure out a more annoying laugh.
Oh, except for...
Have you been following me? I knew it. How often?
Just once a day.
Just a little bit creepy.
Make sure I'm safe.
Man.
And what?
Man, because it's the closest I can get to still being with you.
Oh! Right in the feels! So Max heads through the city where he accidentally causes chaos everywhere, gaining the attention of the press. He realises that he's on TV and is finally noticed. I show up and remember him from earlier and sympathise with his troubles. Unfortunately, his name slips in my mind, upsetting Max, and I would just like to clarify that this is not the reason Max loses it. Yeah, the common consensus is that Max has no reason to turn evil, but he does! I mean, you guys would kind of have a point if the movie was edited like this.
What's your name again?
But it isn't! This is a lonely guy who nobody notices, and yes, I've been there. I grew up, was bullied and forgotten and ignored. In a way, I still am. It makes you lonely and miserable and suicidal. Here's a guy ignored and treated like shit by everyone. And then the city's fucking hero notices him and actually talks to him like a human being, but even he forgets his name. Now that was one little dent, but nowhere near what caused him to flip. Max accidentally causes a shock, which leads to a sniper shooting him, which leads to me appearing on all of the screens. Naturally, Max believes I set him up and used him to manipulate him in front of everyone. It's exactly what it looks like from his perspective, and he starts to enjoy, for the first time in his entire life, the feel of absolute power. And I just gave you a lesson in basic human behaviour.
Am I right?
Right as rain.
So Max causes more madness where we get this amazing slow motion shot of me saving a crapload of people from electricity in a flying car. After the awesome fight, I then confront Gwen, and it's such a subtle moment which the movie is filled with, but so impactful.
England? Really?
So subtle, like after this big fight it comes to my realisation that New York needs me and the confliction continues. So I set out to find my father. FYI, this note to Gwen tugs at my heartstrings even more. Before we cut back to Harry, who's now dying and needs Spider-Man's blood to counteract the disease. Well, that's dumb. I like the Harry and Peter friendship subplot, but this blood thing? That's dumb. It's just... it's dumb. I like the Max subplot, but this was the best thing they had for Harry? It's dumb.
You ain't gotta explain anything to me, man.
So Gwen finds out about Max's history and is chased by security before I make the save. Also, credit for this scene's epic fourth wall jokes.
This is the most cliched hiding place you could have chosen.
You just kissed me.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. How'd you like it?
I felt a little bit rushed.
I know.
We then cut to Max, who's tied down and being forced to have experiments done to him.
And everyone will be able to see me for who I truly am.
And who are you?
Don't you know? I'm Electro.
Well, no. This was the first time you've said it, so how would we know? But who cares? That delivery was amazing. Meanwhile, Aunt May finds out about Peter's search and flips out over it, claiming that she's done everything for him and he's still wanting to find his absentee folks. It's really emotional and I think so well done. She reveals that his father was up to no good with some scientific discovery and he betrayed people to do so.
Maybe everyone has a part of themselves they hide, even from the people they love.
In my opinion, missed opportunity. Now I know comic book geeks would have had to mop up their period blood for it not following the source material, but this, in my mind, was the perfect opportunity for Peter to tell Aunt May who he really is. After that line, after everything she's done for him, she needed to know. In fact, in this movie, I have no idea how she doesn't put two and two together and realise. I mean, it's so fucking obvious! Get a clue! So I'll pay Harry a visit and for once actually decide to hide my voice.
I want to help you, Mr. Osborn. I really, really do.
Hey, I learned! I refuse to give him my blood, worrying they'll do more bad than good, and then we get Dane DeHaan's only really bad delivery for the entire film.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
So Peter swings by into a building in broad daylight and nobody notices, and visits Gwen just as she's going for her Oxford interview. Again, I like all of this culmination. Gwen is moving on without him. She's making moves in her career while he's stuck going through so much shit.
I don't know, maybe we're on different paths right now. You know, I don't know. Maybe we're just going different ways. I don't know, I've gotta go.
He soon discovers some coins which apparently lead to a train station while some chick called Felicia or something, who is a throwaway character, gives Harry some vital exposition leading to his new dastardly plan, but his staff soon show up.
You're going to die a horrible death. Like your father.
difference is, no one is going to miss you.
Ouch. Meanwhile, Peter unlocks Hogwarts and finds a video of his dad revealing that he was responsible for the creation of the genetic Spider-Man crap that Oscorp made, but he had to leave because he refused to comply with their plans and wanted Peter safe. Honestly, this scene is just one example of why Andrew Garfield should have an Oscar to his name by now. Elsewhere, Harry manages to take out security on his own. Dainty Han. On his own. Taking out security. No, not buying it. He confronts Electro and they make a deal to kill Spider-Man, and the motivation all fits with the characters and it's very human dialogue.
I know what it's like to be thrown away. Please, Max! I need you! I need you!
But why couldn't Electro have escaped earlier? Did he need the taser? Gwen leaves Peter a voicemail explaining that she has to go to England because she loves him too much to stay. I'm not crying, you're crying. Look, even Toby's crying. And wait, Electro could turn invisible now? And also put together a Kryptonian costume? And enter electrical sockets? Cool. Meanwhile, there's a lot of meanwhiles in this.
Why isn't that enough?
Harry takes a dosage of the blood doohickey and starts to transform into the Green Goblin. The dark imagery, special effects and lighting is superb, it really is. This character is pretty much the Joker of the Marvel universe. I'm kind of bored of it by now, but still, it looks great. Anyway, he then climbs over towards his Green Goblin costume. Convenient. So I show up, somehow knowing exactly where Gwen is. You know, isn't this a huge risk? I mean, I put an I love you message, then people clearly see me scoop her up, and if people know that Peter and Gwen are dating, they're bound to put two and two together, and just kidding, I'm not Peter. So Electro cuts the city's power, and again, as explained, Gwen gives me some scientific advice to repel the electric attacks.
I'm coming with you. You know that you need me.
You're coming with me. Shut the thing. Sorry, I love you. Don't hate me.
Fun fact for you, this is actually a genuine blooper by Emma Stone. She was supposed to yell Spider-Man but fucked up, but it fit with the character so they kept it in. Just another reason why I love her. But it doesn't matter because she shows up to the big showdown anyway, and this dialogue is awesome.
You can't be here right now. I'm not messing around. You can't be here right now. This is insane.
Guess what? Nobody makes my decisions for me. All right? Nobody. This is my choice. Okay? My choice. This is mine.
So she gets in position for me to give the signal. There is no way she heard me from that distance in this costume over that noise while I was in pain. But oh well, he's dead, lights are back on, no more villains, life is good again.
Peter.
And now it's on. Me versus the Green Goblin. Hey!
Harry, stop this right now! This isn't you, Harry! This is not you! Harry, put her down!
Very poor choice of words.
No!
So the fight is on. As I choke Harry, my web holding Gwen starts to shred, but then... No. No, it can't be! Emma! I mean Gwen!
Sorry.
In all seriousness, many people criticise this for killing her off too soon, just 2 films in, which I don't really understand. I mean, people slam this film for it being too repetitive with their relationship ending and starting up again, but then they wanted it to span to another film? They had done all they could with this relationship, and a third would have grown stale. It was the perfect chance to do it in my mind. It was handled so well and so emotionally. And can somebody seriously get Andrew Garfield a fucking Oscar?
Okay.
We cut to Harry in an institute to rip off Batman Forever a bit more, and Spider-Man has now vanished from the world. Months go by until I watch Gwen's graduation speech, despite the fact that no camera was actually there recording it, and it motivates me to fly back to take on the Rhino. And this was another issue people had with it, comparing it to Spider-Man 3 for having 3 supervillains. Seriously? Rhino was hardly in it. How can this compare? The film focuses its time on 2 villains, and then there was this short happy ending for Spidey to return. I mean, personally, I would have had it just end with me retiring, leading to the 3rd film building on my return. But if they had to go for this happy ending in this film, it was done fine. Others bitch because we don't actually see the fight, but then they say the film was already too long, so it can't win either way.
I know what they say about you in the press, but it doesn't matter to me because I know the real you, because you're amazing.
It is stupid, however, that a little kid who I saved earlier from some bully steps up to the bad guy. 1. What kid would have the balls to do that? 2. Why doesn't he shoot the kid? In regards to the film being oversaturated, it originally was going to have a lot more. Originally, the Green Goblin was going to laugh as I hold Gwen's lifeless body, leading to me beating him to a bloody pulp. That would have actually been awesome. And another is a deleted scene where my father, who abandoned me as a child, decides to show up again after I've lost my uncle and the love of my life, just to fucking ruin my existence even more. How the hell did he even survive that plane crash? But who cares? Someone get him an Oscar, goddammit! And that was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Do I still love it? Yep. Don't get me wrong, I can see what people don't. It does have very silly moments, it's oversaturated with half a dozen subplots and sometimes comes off as an unfocused mess, but when it does regain focus, I think it delivers some top-notch entertainment. Terrific effects, amazing acting by the leads, and Dane DeHaan is so underrated. A great score, a script that needed some tweaking, but I still think it's an awesome movie. Hopefully now you can see a little bit more from my point of view why I love this movie so much.